I've had some more time with the Scary Sharp system since my last upload, and I've also figured out a way to make a $25 sharpening station that is going to work great, specifically for chisels. For $25, we're going to get a piece of float glass. Remember, the last kit was 3 pieces. This one's only going to be the one. 5/16 of an inch thick, 5 inches wide, 12 inches tall. We're also going to get a piece of foam rubber, what looks like shelf liner. This goes underneath our glass, in between the glass and our work surface, and this is going to give us some stability, a little non-slip action. For an adhesive to go on our glass, we have this adhesive-backed film. Now, this is not paper. This was something that got brought up in the last videos, that people were under the impression that this was paper. This is actually like a plastic almost. Very durable. It is not like wet, dry sandpaper. We peel the back off just like a sticker. We stick it to our glass. That's all there is to it. We're actually going to cut this up, and I'll show you guys that here in just a second. So we have different colors. That means we have different grits. We start with a 300. We go to a 600, 1200, an 1800, 8000, 14,000, and 60,000. For a bit of context, my normal sharpening system is this Trend Diamond Stone. I do recommend it, but again, this is like roughly $120 versus $25. There's a bit of a difference here. 300 on one side, 1,000 on one side. I use the 300, similar to this blue, for rough work. Maybe I get a nick, maybe I haven't sharpened for a while, maybe I need to reestablish a bevel. That's probably where I'm gonna hit the 3,000. 1,000 for overall polishing of the secondary bevel, or maybe it's the only bevel on there, but that's gonna do the final shaping. And then I'll either hit it with the 8,000 stone, or I'll hit it with the leather strop. We're gonna talk more about leather strop here in just a second. Now, we can push and pull. We can cut on the pull stroke, we can cut on the push stroke, both, like I've shown you in the last video, and I'll show you again today, without tearing this. Now, there seems to be some controversy as far as the overall cost. Sure, it only costs $25 out of the box, but if you replace the paper, if it doesn't last very long, how much time are you gonna get with it until it costs the same as a decent diamond stone to begin with? A harder steel is going to take longer to sharpen. You're going to be sharpening for longer periods of time. However, if you're sharpening a decent harder steel, it's going to retain its edge longer. And of course, as long as you're maintaining certain angles, you're probably going to retain that edge longer, which means you might be sharpening more at one time, but the distance between then and the next time you sharpen is expanded. Soft steels, obviously they're going to grind away metal really fast, but they're also going to wear out a lot faster traditionally as well. So it just really depends on that. Also depends on how often you're using it. I've read where some people have used one kit that they've got. It's lasted them a year and a half before ever replacing the film. I assume they're not sharpening very often. Maybe they're not using their chisels very often. What I recommend is doing a primary sharpening on this, getting myself a razor sharp edge, and then, like I normally do, I just keep a strop nearby. These can be bought really cheap. In fact, you can get ones like this. This one's got a corner knocked off of it. These are almost like scrap pieces that didn't quite make the cut. As I'm doing whatever it is that I'm doing, I just need to quickly reestablish that nice fine beveled edge. I'll just hit it on the strop. That takes care of me. I don't have to go back to my sharpening station. And as long as you do that with most chisels, I believe, you're gonna be fine for quite a while, which means, again, you're not going back to the sharpening station. Of course, if you wanted to keep this kit the way it is, you don't want to invest in the leather strop, you could just hit it on these lighter grits down here. As far as longevity goes, I will also say these towards this end, remember this is like 300 and 600, again, those are probably gonna be more for establishing a bevel, which means these probably aren't gonna get used as much as the upper grits. This is gonna be more like maintaining that bevel. I think that's about it. What I wanna do is I wanna cut these up. So again, normally these are gonna come about 3 inches longer. We used these in the last video and we took a 3-inch strip off of there. We're gonna cut these into 1.5 inch strips. We're gonna lay them strategically on our glass. All right, we're going to start by cleaning off one side of our piece of glass. What we don't want is any foreign material to slide underneath. Now, I'm gonna start, I kept these in order, so I'm going to start with the 300 grit, And what I'm going to do is peel back a little bit here. I'm just gonna kind of center it this way. So I got a little bit here, a little bit there. We'll just put it down here on the edge. Relatively straight, it really doesn't matter. And then I can simply peel it and stick it down. And I'll just do the same thing for each one of these grits as I go. One thing that I noticed as I've been experimenting here is that Sharpie will write on this film really well. So we can start with our 300, our 600, 1200, 1800, 8000, 14,000, and 60,000 grit. So once that dries, it's gonna be on there permanently. Now I've tried this with water and it hasn't moved. We're actually gonna use WD-40 for this. Now, the reason is because I originally thought that you could use this with water, and you can, but the problem is the water can get underneath and mess with the adhesive. Now, on that note, you can get other lapping film that is even more coarse grits than the 300. We can go 120 grit, 180 grit, and 250 grit, which is gonna work great for really heavy material removal. This stuff, water hates it. This stuff, water is actually okay, but in the name of consistency, we're actually going to use a little bit of WD-40 as our lubricant. All right, what I have is a brand new Nerix chisel. I've lapped the back. We're gonna spray a little bit of WD-40 on here. We can kind of spread it out. All right, we're gonna start with that 300 because I don't have a secondary bevel on here. Some people do secondary bevels, some people don't. That's a different video entirely, but I'm going to actually put a secondary bevel on here. So 1-inch wide chisel. And what I wanna do is just get it on here and go back and forth. It doesn't really matter the amount of time. Guys might be able to see a little bit of metal slurry building up down there by the numbers. I want to check the back of this for a burr. I'm gonna go just a little bit longer. Now keep in mind, this is a brand new chisel. It's never had a secondary bevel put on it, which means that this isn't gonna take very long at all because we're putting a very small bevel on here. All right, now I can feel I've got something going all the way across here. Okay, so now we're just going to hit the 600. I'm just gonna go right through all the grits. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm gonna do that to each of them. Now on this end, let's get rid of our honing guide real quick. And you don't have to use a honing guide with this, by the way. I'm gonna lay this flat on here like this. I'm just gonna pull. I'm just keeping pressure right here on this so that I'm not tipping it at all. And that's just gonna get rid of any kind of a micro burr that's on there. I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but hopefully you're gonna be able to see that little micro bevel that's on there. There you go. Now let's see how sharp it is. All right, now this is one of those really uncomfortable situations where I only have one shot to do this. This is a piece of scrap walnut that I have. It's really good to do these tests on pine because pine isn't as dense. But what I wanna do is just bring this in here and shave end grain. And as you can see, we have these nice curls, or at least I hope you can see, of end grain. End grain's really difficult. Just, if you know, of course, anything about wood, you'll know that it's really hard to curl end grain. And end grain itself doesn't cut very well to begin with. We can almost break that apart. It's pretty good. But as you can see, it slices through here very easily. hopefully that gives you an idea of what to expect with this kit. Again, for $25, I think it's a pretty good buy. I'll leave links to everything in the description as always. And I highly recommend getting a strop. A strop is going to carry you in between sharpenings. I get my final bevel on here, my final sharpening, whatever, however sharp I want that to be. And then when I notice it's getting a little bit dull, or maybe that edge isn't quite as crisp as it was before, I'll hit it on the leather strop. That changes everything. It rejuvenates that edge and it keeps me away from sharpening, and I can just keep working, which of course is what this is all about. $25, like I said, and everything is in there. Because we cut those into 1.5 inch strips, you're going to have plenty of material left over to start replacing those strips as need be, which again, is gonna be different for everyone. Anyways, hopefully all that made sense. And if you guys have further questions, please leave them down in the comment section. I'll be sure to keep an eye on it. That's all I got for you guys today. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.